cbc-radio.com, keeping you connected wherever you go.
Second meeting of the month, and most of you haven't been here before, so we usually start off with a prayer. And so we're going to do the prayer, and then we'll do the pledges. Brother Matt, would you give us a prayer? Everyone stand, please.
Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. We just thank you, Lord, for the many blessings. Thank you for this county, Lord. Lord, we just pray for our commissioners, our judges today, Lord. Just lead them. Lord, pray for our country, all of our leaders. Just pray, Lord, for the ones that are sick in our community. Just heal and comfort them, the ones that lost loved ones. Just go with us this day. Give me my sin. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Thank you. Y'all may be seated. Is that better? Can you hear it? Yes, a little better? Today is April the 25th, 2016, and this is the regular scheduled special Commissioners Court meeting. The first item on the agenda is to approve and pay monthly expenses. Those, I believe, are in your binder. The bills that we have from the since the last meeting that need to be approved, as well as the payroll. Do we have any questions on any of the bills? I have a motion to approve the monthly expenses. I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None opposed? Motion carried. Okay. The public is behind you, anyway.
Did you make it back here? Did you make it back here?
Oh, it didn't? We're going to go on to number 3 while that's being signed on. Number 3 is to discuss and possibly approve a sealed bid for 0.50 acres, which is a half an acre land, out of the J. Smith survey and held in trust by Tennahaw School District as trustee. Ms. Deborah Riley, our tax assessor, will tax assessor. Please, ma'am.
Our delinquent attorneys sent over a letter asking us to put this on the agenda. It was a $1,000 bid. This property was originally struck off to Tennahaw ISD on May 5th of 2015. So, on the back of your paper, it will tell the breakdown. There won't be any taxes that will be paid with this money if y'all accept this bid. They will assume the taxes that are still owed on it, to my understanding.
They will assume the taxes that are owed on it.
Yeah, well, Richard was supposed to get back with me before I actually came up here and to tell me whether they actually strike those off with. I know that the 2015s get struck off because that's the year that they struck it off to the entity. But I don't have clarification of the ones before that, if they're striking those off or if they're making the person who's actually purchasing this, whether they're going to be assuming this up.
And you said you think this bid has gone to the...
Yeah, I believe it has gone to the school district, and that's why this is related to us. But I don't think that it's gone to the city yet.
So it's within the city limits. So
Yes, ma'am.
School district accepted.
From my understanding, they did. Mostly what this will do is just get it back on the tax roll. Because right now it's just sitting in Tennahaw ISD's trustee names.
Not doing anybody any good.
That's right.
Okay.
They won't do all that.
No, not unless we get it back on the tax rolls. Do we know who's purchased it or?
It's on the letter, yes, ma'am.
Got it. Okay. So you just need a motion to, for us to either accept or not accept, reject this.
If you want me to check into any other things, I can, shoot, you can take one, and I can find out the answers to the rest of the questions you might have.
I'll let you motion to accept this bid and give it back on the back truck.
I'll do that. I'm a second for that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None opposed, motion carried. Number 4 is for Mr. Jerry Fry from Fema to explain and answer questions regarding the National Flood Insurance Program. Thank you for coming today.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
I know it was hard to get away with all the different disasters going on and flooding, possibly
Yeah,
more flooding.
we're in the middle of doing substantial damage estimates for
Yes.
Newton County right now, so.
Yes, I knew that.
A couple of things that I'm going to share with you as a non-participating community. Shelby County has, as of this moment, we have 33 applicants that are not eligible for disaster assistance in Shelby County. If they were to retain or receive the maximum grant, which is $33,000, that's well over $1 million that could be on the streets here in Shelby County. If you take an average of about $4,000 per grant, then that's over $120,000. A couple of other things that Shelby County would be missing out on: the debris, emergency program, emergency protective services, anything that has to do with FEMA-related grants. And I know that I have to bring some PA work up in Missouri prior to coming to here. PA is public assistance. A lot of gravel roads, and I've seen a lot of those in the counties that I've been working in. Some of that stuff is not eligible, and it falls back on the county to pay those bills. Just for Newton County alone, the debris project is going to be close to $1 million. So, and if they were not a participating community, then they would have to work that out from their budget. And most counties and most areas that I've been in do not have that capability. So there are a couple things with the emergency program, and that's what you need to look at is the emergency program. As a non-participating community, you can't go straight from zero to a Cadillac. Okay, you got to get in the emergency program. What the emergency program does, and if you look on page 18 in the book that I just gave you, it gives the participants or the people that are eligible for disaster assistance. And right now, I think the last day to register for disaster assistance is May 18th. If you do something within 6 months as of joining the emergency program, those people are still eligible for that disaster assistance. So even though they may not get it today, they can get it at a later date. So and they're also eligible for SBA loans, et cetera. SBA loans right now are at 1.8%. So that is an incentive for you guys to think about. The other thing that you look at on the emergency program, single family structure currently under the emergency program would be eligible for up to $35,000 worth of coverage. As the emergency program progresses to the regular program, then they could get up to $250,000 worth of flood protection on their structure itself. For those residents that do not have flood insurance and they get disaster assistance, typically what happens is there's a group program that guarantees or says to these people, you are required to carry flood insurance going forward as a disaster assistance recipient. You are required to carry flood insurance on that property, and that follows the property. It does not follow the homeowner. It follows the property itself, the physical location. Ran into a situation down in Orange County where this guy who was disabled purchased a house in May of 2015, and the owner who owned it previously had received disaster assistance during Ike, I think it was, and did not divulge to this guy that he had to carry flood insurance. The only thing he was eligible for was a rental reimbursement, and his house was pretty much destroyed. So he had to go back into the volunteer agency group to get some type of assistance. So by joining the emergency program is going to benefit the 33 people that have applied. I heard a comment that I didn't about a disaster center. I do not know where the disaster centers are because I'm in the floodplain management side of it. But I can sure get the information to make sure that Carrie has it. I emailed Carrie a week or so, 10 days ago, the information about what is required. You must fill out an application that goes to the state, and then the state sends it to Fema, the region, which is in Denton, Texas. And then you must adopt an ordinance, and that ordinance, you can go in there and do a very simple ordinance, and you must enforce your floodplain management guidelines. Those floodplain management guidelines are basically basic requirements that are set forth by the CFR 44 Code of Federal Regulations under 59.1 through 63 point something. I don't remember what it goes to. But it's if you really can't have, if you really have trouble sleeping at night, take that book out and read it, and you'll put you right to sleep. But a lot of in the state of Texas, for example, a lot of communities will adopt a freeboard requirement. A freeboard requirement is basically anywhere from 6 inches to 4 feet above base flood elevation. And base flood elevation is set based on median sea level. So the elevation in some areas is going to be higher, in some areas it's going to be lower. And I know that in most of the counties that I've worked in, they've adopted a 1 foot freeboard, which is a higher requirement than what is set forth by the Code of Federal Regulations, which is at BFE. Typically what you do when you adopt these regulations is you manage the floodplains in those areas that are in a special flood hazard area. You manage the building requirements, and you make sure that there is a permit procedure for development in those areas. I know that in a lot of communities and a lot of areas there are floodways, and we try to discourage people from building in floodways. And for those of you that don't know, a floodway is basically where the rapid moving water can get in and go. You know, it's basically building it in a channel, so to speak. Where a special flood hazard area may be an area that is just susceptible to inundation of water. So that's kind of what a special flood hazard area is and a floodway is. But the emergency program, as I said, is something that you guys need to consider for the residents of Shelby County. And the question came up, I think I was talking to a gentleman right over here, and he said the guy across the street, down the road a piece, not a stone's throw away, was getting disaster assistance, and he wasn't, simply because of where the line is drawn. And Shelby, the city of Shelby, I think, is a participating community, but the county of Shelby.
City walking.
Yeah.
City walking is.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, I've had more ball gum than I could chew with Newton County. So my preparation for this county was not very good. I didn't have a lot of time to do that. But I do know that in the county there are a couple of participating communities, and those communities are eligible for disaster assistance. So having said that, my recommendation is that you try to get into this program. I was asked a question last week in a meeting for Newton County Commissioners Court. What are the disadvantages of not being a participant in the NFIP? And I could not think of disadvantages. The only thing I could think of were advantages. And as I said, if you start taking money, if you're having to foot the bill for putting the gravel back on the roads and doing all that stuff, which you're eligible for if you're a participating community, debris, emergency protective services, you got to put your people out there and put barricades up and things of this nature. That is money that can be reimbursed to you, where you don't have to totally foot the bill. And then your residents who are out money because they're having to pull up carpet and take out drywall and things of this nature, they can get some disaster assistance relief. So there are more advantages of being a participant than there are disadvantages. I can't think of any disadvantages because I'm a floodplain manager and I like to see things done right anyway. But the only disadvantage that I see is somebody's going to have to oversee this. Sometimes it can revert to the emergency manager. Sometimes, like the state of Alabama, if there's no designated floodplain administrator, it falls to the clerk of court. So most of the time, the clerk of courts do not know that. So having said that, we will hopefully get a floodplain manager. And I've given Carrie a contact, the floodplain administrator for Orange County, Lisa Roberts is excellent at her job, and I've asked Carrie to reach out to her as far as development and floodplain management rules and guidelines. Now, what's gonna happen if you don't follow the guidelines is they're gonna come in, they're gonna possibly put you on probation, which probation suspension and sanction is listed in this book. So you want to monitor that. Those properties that are already built, already in a special flood hazard area, they're going to be what is called grandfathered in, and they're going to stay that way until they become substantially damaged. Substantially damaged or substantially improved basically says anything greater than 50%, and that can be as a result of any reason. You can have a fire, a tornado, earthquake, whatever that damages that house greater than 50%, and it has to be brought into current code and compliance. The current code and compliance is an elevation requirement. Because there are no building codes on the counties and the state of Texas that I've seen, I've talked to people and I've suggested that you, especially in the special flood hazard area, you kind of look at the International Building Code, IBC, for just bringing it into current code and compliance as far as wiring, things of that nature. That is not something that you have to do, but the elevation requirement is there. And after a property is considered substantially damaged, or somebody comes in, they want to improve that project, or improve their home, and it's going to improve it greater than 50% of the structure value only, not the land value included, then it's going to have to be brought in elevation requirement. Any questions?
So there's, so people that are already there are going to be grandfathered in.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I think
will not be penalized. The county won't be penalized for them already being there.
No, they're called pre-firm structures. Pre-firm is a flood insurance rate map. There are flood insurance rate maps available for Shelby County. They were adopted. Came out, I think, in 1997, 98, somewhere around there. I think it's 98. 78, could be 78.
97 sounds better.
Yeah, so if those properties were built prior to 1978, and everything coincides with the ordinance that you set forth, and I know that in Newton County they call it a flood damage prevention order, but it boils down to an ordinance. And the ordinance will mirror what it says on the flood insurance rate maps. And each one of those flood insurance rate maps have panels. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds right now, but if you're worried about your property being in a special flood hazard area, then as you guys adopt the ordinance, or you move forward to adopt an ordinance, then that information will be made available at that time. If this is a one-time event, you've only flooded once, I get that. It's not going to happen again. I hear that everywhere I go in the United States. It happens more and more frequently and with more and more bigger in them. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Well, unfortunately, it's happened 2 years in a row to us. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the hesitation in the past has been that the Commissioners Court didn't feel like they should put any more rules and regulations on landowners.
Right.
And that's just kind of what we want to know is will we be taking any type of ownership away from the property? Are we going to have to tell them what they can build and what they can't build? I think that's been the hesitation in the past is, it's your land. We don't want to tell anybody what they can and what they can't build on that land and how they can do it. So I know if we set up certain guidelines, I just want to know how far the county's liability for making them, improve the property or build to code.
Well, the only thing on the property side of it, from what you're just saying, is if they go in and they construct a new building on that property, then as a property owner, the first thing, if I was in a special flood hazard area, I would want to mitigate the possibility of flooding on the beginning side. So if I'm bringing it to base flood elevation and plus 1 foot of freeboard, chances are we're going to take it out of those areas. Now, I heard while the conversation was going on outside, some people had 5 and 6 and 7 inches of water in their house. Well, if they had that 1 foot of freeboard in that structure right now, they wouldn't have taken on any water. Just because, and what I want to go back and say, just because you do the right thing doesn't mean that you will never flood again. I mean, you have to be realistic here. The water's gonna get higher, and we're gonna continue to flood, but it doesn't mean that they're never gonna flood again. It's supposed to minimize the impact, and hopefully it will, and if it does, then they don't suffer the losses. And if they, you know, if somebody comes in and if this is the thing that you need to deal with the tax assessor, with the emergency manager, and whoever you elect as your floodplain administrator or appoint as your floodplain administrator, there needs to be some conversation between those folks. Okay, Mr. Smith over here is building a new structure on his property. It's in a special flood hazard area. Well, we need to check to see if it is in a special flood hazard area. If it's outside the special flood hazard area, anything goes. You know, zone C or zone X. You know, it's anything goes. They can put whatever they want, however they want. But if it's in a special flood hazard area, what you're trying to do by adopting an ordinance is taking people and property out of harm's way to try to break the cycle. If you don't do that, and if you don't manage those floodplains, and these people suffer loss of property or potentially loss of life, then you're liable because you're not following your rules and guidelines. So having said that, by putting those rules and guidelines in place, then there has to be some proper management of the special flood hazard area. That's the area that we're concerned with. We're not concerned with the zone X or zone C, those areas which are not typically supposed to flood. Having said that, 25 to 30% of all claims that are paid out are in areas that aren't supposed to flood, zone C and zone X. So, you know, just by having that capability and managing the floodways, then what you're doing is you're allowing these people to come in, and if it's a federally backed mortgage, by not participating, then they can't build or construct based on the mortgage requirements from the lending institute. Now, the lending institute can direct them in an area where they can get flood coverage, but usually it's through Lloyd's of London, which is 20 times higher than the National Flood Insurance Program. And the National Flood Insurance Program is not cheap. So you start looking at those numbers, then you know you're talking. We're not going to be able to build or sell any property.
Right.
So having said that, by adopting these, number one, you're assisting the people that you have in trouble right now, and going forward, you're going to be able to better manage and be able to get federal funds to assist you in doing other things.
How far from water's edge back?
It varies. It varies. I can't be specific without looking at the map. I've seen it go back as far as a quarter of a mile and as far as a mile, depending on the body of water and the type of water. You know, you may have a creek out here that somebody's going to build, and only a corner of their property, on the corner of their structure, is going to be in the special flood hazard area. Well, the bank will look at that as in a special flood hazard area. The mortgage company will. So, you know, you look at by going in and saying that it's a specific number, I can't, because it can vary place to place.
I know there are places in Woking that half the lot is gone because the banked off, caved off, water done. So therefore, that's going to change the distance of where that your water floodplain stops.
Well, not based on the current map, it would not. See, everything is based on the current map that's in place, the 1978 map.
All opposed? None opposed? So we will also table number 6, which is the resolution to become a member to May 9th. Would you like to make that motion also?
I'd like to table that.
Okay, we're going to table number 6 also. Do I have a second on that? We've got a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? None opposed?
And we're hopefully get over to Newton County, we get them to send that resolution down, or where we can read it right now.
I've actually got a note to call all the cities within the county, to call Newton County, Pinellas County, and some of the others that are almost having.
I'll call Washington, call Hope, and hopefully we'll walk in.
Well, that's what I said, I've got all the cities for the bill. Okay, so number 7 is to adjourn. I've got 3 motions, do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate you coming and your participation.
CBC-radio.com, keeping you connected wherever you go.